by Star Ledger columnist Paul Mulshine as single-handedly igniting the biggest taxpayer revolt since the Florida years, Steve Lonegan wants to invigorate the conservative principles necessary to successfully govern in the 21st century. Steve's fight for homeowners and taxpayers here in New Jersey led to defeating Little Governor John Corzine's $38 billion toll hike, which was rendered dead on arrival in a legislature dominated by Democrats. A former three-term mayor in Nevada, Steve put his conservative philosophies to work by cutting property taxes and maintaining GOP control of local government for over a decade. Lonegan's 2003 re-election was the inspiration for the political documentary Anytown, USA, an insider view of local politics and campaigns. Mayor Lonegan's fight to stop illegal bonding of the state's debt, gasoline tax hike, and ethics inquiries into corrupt political cronyism made him a hero with ordinary people who just want the rising cost of government control. His crusade to get government off the backs of blue-collar New Jersey has led to numerous appearances on Meet the Budo, Fox and Friends, Hannity and Holmes, the Glenn Beck Show, as well as News 12's Power and Politics. An author and advocate for conservative values, his Taxpayer Minute can be heard all along the radio dial. Steve's first book, Putting Taxpayers First, a conservative playbook on how Republicans can win again here in New Jersey. A small business entrepreneur, Steve Lonegan understands the importance of meeting a payroll and putting people to work. A former high school athlete, Steve was team captain and an all-conference center for the Division III Williams-Patterson College football team. Steve resides in Nevada with his wife Lorraine of 27 years. They have two daughters, Brooke and Catherine. Candidate for governor in 2005, former Mayor Steve Lonegan represents the principles and values necessary to make the Republican Party competitive again in the state of New Jersey. The voice of the conservative movement, Lonegan is dedicated to provide the relief New Jersey sees from decades of the failed governance of tax and spend liberalism. Everybody, if you can give your undivided attention to Mayor Steve Lonegan. Thank you.
It's an honor to be here at Randy, and thank you very much for that. I see you have your three older candidates, Frank Stilaccio and Larry Wallace. I think there's a third, Phyllis isn't here, but I want to thank Lauren Oglesby, your county chairman, for being here. Americans for Prosperity, I am the state director of Americans for Prosperity. We are the nation's leading citizen activist organization committed to defending an economy where we can all grow and prosper, an economy that once flourished in the state of New Jersey. And we've been working for the past 3 years to support and promote the very principles that I believe we've abandoned in this state by virtue of the failure of politics. I travel the state quite a bit, and one of the things I believe we've seen with the growth of government in New Jersey is an attack on our most fundamental rights, and you don't quite realize it until you experience it. You know, I was down in South Jersey January 15th. And I had gone to what was, I think, my 4th or 5th governor's town hall meeting on his toll hike plan. A plan that would have raised tolls 800% across the state and borrowed $38 billion, the largest borrowing program by any state in American history. And I went to that town hall meeting with the purpose of talking to citizens much like yourself and telling them what they needed to ask, what questions they should be asking. We've been doing it at every meeting. And as we went from meeting to meeting, the crowds got bigger and more engaged in doing what citizens are supposed to be doing, being part of government. And I was at the Middle Township High School in Cape May, Saturday morning, and I was standing in the parking lot, and I was in a suit, tie, jacket that day, speaking to a group much like yourself, 25 or 30 concerned citizens that had come to be part of a public meeting. And I was handing out flyers and coaching people on what they should ask when they went into the meeting. When I was approached by a police officer from the Middle Township Police Department, who said to me, we don't want you handing out flyers here. And I said, pardon me, officer, but this is a public meeting on public property paid for by taxpayer dollars, and I'm just exercising my First Amendment rights. He said, well, the governor's staff doesn't want you handing out flyers. So let's go talk to the governor's staff, and that didn't happen. He said, we know, he said, well, are you going to stop? I said, you're not going to stop me unless you arrest me. Very spontaneous. I didn't put a lot of thought into it. It just hit me, a nerve with me that they would tell me I couldn't hand out flyers. This is America. And that's when I heard the words, arrest this man. And I was told to put my hands behind my back. Now, at that moment, took more men to take me down than John Dillinger. So for the first time in my 52 years, I put my hands behind my back and I was handcuffed. So look, for 52 years I eluded the law, right? But I was handcuffed and I was frisked head to toe. And they took my wallet out of my pocket and they shoved me into a patrol car and I was taken to the Middle Township police station where I was handcuffed to a holding cell wall for an hour and a half. I was mug-shotted. They wanted to fingerprint me, but they had a little fight over what they were going to charge me with. And they charged me with something called defiant trespassing. An hour and a half later, I was released. Let me tell you something that happened that day. And I knew that they were making a big mistake. It was upsetting to be handcuffed. And my wife had left me there and gone shopping. She didn't know I was going to get arrested. But let me tell you what happened. While I was being arrested, 25, 30 Americans at a public meeting on public property. You know what happened? They got really quiet. They got really quiet. They looked down at the ground. They looked at each other. And they slowly melted away. And as I was being walked to the patrol car, one of them leaned over and said, "We're sorry." And I said to myself, what happened here? This is America. When did we roll over and let them do this to us? And I realized in that moment what it must be like to live in Cuba or the old Soviet Union or China where this kind of thing happens every day. And I also realized that even for that brief moment that my rights and all of our rights were violated, the chilling impact it has on our freedom of speech and our willingness to assemble and express ourselves. Well, 2 days later, the apologies flew out of the Karzai administration. All charges were dropped, and there's currently a state police investigation into what happened.
Good.
And of course, we know where that investigation will go.
Well, they're going to get the attorney.
Yeah. But folks, you got to understand, it only took a second for our most, not just me, it was all of us standing, it was all of you, to understand what it means when our rights are violated. You know, there's a candidate for governor. I heard him make a speech about 6 months ago. He keeps making it, and he says this, he says, "The past is behind us, and the future is in front of us." And my first reaction is to, oh wow, I think I knew that already. But when he says the past is behind us, he says it with disdain, as if there's something wrong with America's past. America's past it's our ancestry. It's the heritage on which this nation was built. It's the soil beneath our feet, which is soaked with the blood of our ancestors who sacrificed for our freedom. It's the heaven above us from which we draw the moral compass that gives us this power, the energy to take on the challenges of the day. And the future's not ahead of us, it's right now. It's in the decisions that we're going to make in the months to come that's going to determine the future of this state. I think we see more significant challenge in New Jersey now than ever before. And I think it's a great opportunity for the Republican Party to be galvanized to action. Because American citizens are not going to give up their rights. So I want to talk to you a little bit tonight. We're going to do a little sort of history, economics presentation I've done across the state for a while. But I want to go back to the past to get my point across. So I want to start like this. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, amongst them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You know, when Thomas Jefferson wrote those powerful opening words to our Declaration of Independence, he wrote what many people believe to be the most important words ever written in the English language. Because with them he did two things. He launched the freest and most prosperous nation the world has ever seen. But you know, he did something else quite profound. In capturing the vision of the founders, he shook the thrones of the kings and queens of Europe, the czars of Russia, and the emperors of Asia to their very foundations. Because for the first time in the history of all mankind, what Jefferson asserted is that each and every one of us, each and every one of you sitting here tonight, is endowed with certain unalienable rights by a power greater than any on earth, he said, by our Creator, by God.